Good morning, YouTube family. My garden is just exploding with all kinds of goodies. If you can see right behind me here, that is the one loofah plant that survived the chicken catastrophe. And we're super proud. We even have some loofahs that are formed and starting to ripen. The carrots are looking amazing. And we're probably gonna have to pull one out and check on their progress and see how they're doing. We've been harvesting tomatoes pretty much every day, and peppers as well. What I like to do is have a huge bulk canning day at the end of the season as far as tomatoes go. So we collect them just when they're a good blush color, and we set them on the kitchen counter and let them continue to ripen. And then we'll throw them in Ziploc bags into the freezer until we're ready to do our canning. There's just so many still on the vines. So many tomatoes, which is great. I like to do canning of all of my sauces, like barbecue sauce and spaghetti sauce, some tomato sauce, and tomato juice. I also like to make some pizza sauce to have on hand. And so we'll do a massive pressure canning day at the end of the season and get all of those tomato products put up on the shelf in my canning room. Pumpkin squash is finally coming along, starting to climb the trellis here, which is great. And this is my honey nut butternut squash here. And they're kind of small. We've been getting a ton of rain. Maybe they don't like that, so we'll just continue to watch them and see how they do. Also, not the best year for my navy beans. So we have a few plants here in the middle and then two on the end, but they're not looking the greatest. And I didn't have great germination because I planted a whole row of them along the bottom of this trellis, that, as you can see, only about 5 plants actually grew. A few of my basil plants have gone to seed right here behind me. We were traveling, of course, for the Homesteading Festival, and I wasn't here to pinch off the tops, and they went to seed, but the pollinators are just loving it. I have an eggplant that's about ready for harvest here, so we'll probably pick that later today. My cayenne peppers are looking great too. They're just not ready to pick yet until they turn a beautiful bright red. Some more plants that survived the chicken catastrophe, my cucumbers. And boy, do they look fantastic. We've harvested several cucumbers off of them already, and probably gonna make some pickles. My grandbaby is still visiting with me, and he has made me promise not to pick anything without him today. So he is off visiting my husband's parents' farm, which is a couple of miles down the road from us. And we just recently had a bunch of timber taken out of their property over there, and they're inspecting the damage. These are our purple hull peas here. And we are starting to get some pods form, but they won't be ready for a few more weeks. The green beans, on the other hand, we've been picking daily. The pinto beans are looking great. Now, as far as these, we'll just let these dry out on the plants themselves, and then we'll harvest them. The kidney beans are also doing well, and same thing as we do for the pinto beans. We will just let them dry out on the vine on the plant, and then we'll harvest them at the end. Sweet potato plants are vining out. Looks like we have a little bit of pest pressure on these leaves. I'm just gonna head on over to the orchard and check on our fruit over there. Our blueberries are pretty much done for the season. At the end of harvest season, we'll go ahead and start our jam making process. So I'm here in the orchard near the blueberry bushes, and we have a few that have pretty much surpassed their life cycle, and we're gonna have to cut those down the end of this year. And then we'll probably wait and do it when we're pruning the rest of the bushes, which will probably be sometime in the late fall. And our muscadines are showing out this year. We're gonna be up to our eyeballs in muscadine. I don't know what we're gonna do with them all. You can only make so much jam. But boy, our apple tree sure is putting on a bunch of apples. These are all the blueberries in the freezer. These are 1-gallon bags. So I was doing a little bit of math calculation on our blueberries, and it looks like we've got just shy of 70 pounds of blueberries this year. And that's with a couple of our bushes not really producing much of anything. And those are the ones that we're gonna chop down this year. And every year we try to add a couple of blueberries to the orchard to replace those. And so hopefully I'll be propagating some new blueberry bushes soon. True to Mississippi fashion, it is hot and humid outside today, so I'm very thankful to be inside the house this time of day, which is, I don't know, 10:30 in the morning. I have sweat dripping down my back. So I'm gonna be making another batch of homemade Greek yogurt in my Instant Pot. I have rabbit stew that's been cooking all night long in another crock pot. And I need to go ahead and get the potatoes peeled and boiled for the mashed potatoes that we're gonna have with that later. So we get our milk from a local dairy here. Unfortunately, it is not raw milk. It is not legal to sell it here in the state of Mississippi. But I do have a source now just across the line in Louisiana, and I'm gonna start getting raw milk from them. I'm just using a red potato for this, and I love to leave the skins on.
Making our way how God intended. Life on the homestead recommended. When the going gets tough and you're done pretending. Life on the homestead recommended.
After another rain shower, I think we're ready to pick our veggies. We have some more tomatoes that have ripened and a cucumber, I think just one this time, and then lots of peppers. And then of course we gotta get our green beans.
Whoa, that's the homestead life.
What's wrong with the cucumber? So along with harvesting the vegetables that we can get out of the garden today, I'm also going to try to seed save some of my zinnias. A lot of the flowers that are starting to die, I'm going to go ahead and snip off and then let them continue drying out in the apothecary. And then once they're completely dry, I'll store them away till next year. And then so supposedly in the flower petals of the zinnia, that's where the seeds are. And you'll scatter them into the soil next year and the zinnias should grow. And these are some of the zinnias that I'm drying out from last week. And we're just air drying them instead of running the dehydrator. So I'm just gonna add another tray. All right, and these will just sit and dry out for the next several weeks. So I was able to get another cucumber out of the garden today, and I have about 5 or so large cucumbers, and I'm gonna make a batch of bread and butter pickles. And we don't eat a ton of pickles, but we like to have some on hand for when we make homemade hamburgers or to put on sandwiches and things. Just a little tip, we rarely peel a lot of our vegetables, and the reason being is because that's where most of the vitamins are, is in the peeling of the vegetable. So occasionally I'll peel some carrots, you know, when I'm putting them into stews and stuff, but like for pickles, I'm not gonna peel these cucumbers at all. So I should have enough for about 3 quarts of bread and butter pickles. I rinsed and sliced the cucumbers and placed them in a large bowl along with some coarse sea salt, and then place them in the refrigerator for about an hour or so. And then I rinsed them thoroughly and drained them, sliced up an onion, and I'm gonna go ahead and place them in the quart-sized jars, and then we'll make our brine and pour the hot brine over the pickles. So the key to a really crispy pickle is gonna be grape leaves. And we don't actually grow regular grapes on our property, but we do have muscadine grapes, same thing. And so I've got some of our muscadine grape leaves out of the orchard, and I'm gonna put, I don't know, 2 or 3 in each jar. And what happens is the grape leaves are high in tannins, and that is what's gonna keep your pickles crispy. I'm gonna go ahead and ladle the brine over the pickles and onion mixture. We'll just let it sit on the counter for about an hour or so, and then put it in the refrigerator, and it's ready to go in about 24 hours. So we'll continue to harvest our green beans for the next week or two. And I like to just snip them in half and throw them in freezer bags. And after the harvest is over, then I'll go ahead and pressure can. So while the texture of the green bean is going to be a little softer when you go from the freezer to the pressure canner, that's okay, because we're mostly going to use these green beans for soups and stews and pot pies and things like that. So it really won't matter if they're a little soft. Also on the agenda for today, Michael's going to check in on his bees. We usually like to do that about once a week, but we've been slacking. So he's going to peek in and see if anybody needs an extra box and check the honey production and make sure things are going okay. So Michael is on his way with all of the equipment and tools needed to check the beehives. And our grandson is still here, and he does not have a bee suit yet. We're working on that, but you know, they're expensive and he's still growing, so we may wait another year or two. And that way he can help G-Dad with the bees. Meanwhile, he is safe and sound, far away from the bees. So the last time I helped him check on the hives, admittedly, I made a stupid mistake and decided not to suit up. And while I was in the middle of filming, I was stung not once but twice. One was right here and the other was on the top of my hand. Honeybee stings do not hurt. They're actually kind of good for you. If you have followed us at any point of our journey, Michael has talked about the benefits of bee stings. But I'm going to keep my distance this time because I am not suited up. It is hot out here. And I did get that on film. And, you know, I may or may not share that with you guys. But just a helpful hint for bites and stings, plantain is your best friend. And I happen to grow the herb plantain, not the fruit, the herb. And I made a poultice, applied it within 2 minutes of the sting, and 0 swelling.
The bottom box is completely full of brood. The second box is not even quite halfway, so this is definitely a weaker hive.
So in this hive over here, they've already started moving into that third box, which is good. Now he's going to check the main hive here.
Very healthy.
Well, I got chased out of there. He upset that one hive, and the bees started chasing me. I did not get stung, which is good. So apparently the middle hive, the large hive, is very healthy and they're almost ready for yet another box. To round off the day, we've got homemade blueberry popsicles with Greek yogurt.
You never know.
Babe! That's Bee! He got me! I need some plantain!